Hi everybody, it's Joyce here from Black Hair Compass. I wanted to come to you guys with a video discussing how to properly sift all of the information that's available on hair care on YouTube. I've had quite a few people reach out to me and say, hey, I followed this video that someone posted and something terrible happened. And at the same time, I've also had people reach out to me and say, hey, you seem to be pretty new in the lock game, yet you kind of know a lot of information. Where are you getting your information from? And my answer is always the same as everyone else, YouTube and Google. But I think that there is kind of a strategy that you can use to make sure that you're getting good information and that you're not just following something for the sake of following it. So let's get right into it. So the first thing that I like to do whenever I'm getting information on YouTube is I ask myself, does it make sense? If someone is telling you to go outside and scoop a cup of dirt and mix in shea butter and then light it on fire and then distill it down into an oil and then put that on your hair, that probably is not a good thing to do, just from the sheer fact that it does not readily make sense. I know that that seems kind of like something that would be obvious, but oftentimes we can be so lost in what it is that we're doing and not know what to do that we're kind of desperate for information and we're just looking for someone to tell us what to do because we have no idea where to start. And usually when we get to that place, we start to accept information that otherwise does not make sense for us. So before you take any advice, just stop and ask yourself, does this make sense? Then the next thing that I like to ask myself is, does this make sense for me? Something that I'll use a personal example for this. Something that's really popular in the lock community is to wash your hair and to not follow it with any sort of conditioner. I understand the reasons behind doing that. There's a lot of fear about putting conditioner on your hair because it can cause buildup. But something that I know specifically about my hair is that it does not do well with being completely stripped and then not having a lot of what it lost replaced. And I know that just from my own loose natural hair journey. And I even tried as someone with locks to wash my hair and then not follow it up with any sort of conditioner, and just as I suspected, it was horrible for me. My hair really does not do well with that. So while that advice in and of itself is probably not bad because it does make sense, it just doesn't make sense for me and what I know to be true about my hair. So just an aside, one of the ways that I worked around that is I use Dr. Bronner soap and I use their hair rinse. Their hair rinse is very thin in consistency, so it gives me what I need as far as a conditioner is concerned without actually using a creamy thick conditioner that might cause buildup in my locks. So that's kind of like, consider, does it make sense? But secondly, does it make sense for you? If someone is telling you don't wash your hair but once every 6 months, there might be some sort of case that might no, that probably would never apply to anyone, but nonetheless, if you're someone and you know that you have to wash your hair several times, okay, good example, if you know you have a scalp condition and you have to wash your hair several times a week, someone telling you to wash your hair once a month may not necessarily be advice that makes sense for you. Washing your hair once a month might work for some people, but if you specifically know that you have a scalp issue that needs to be addressed with soap or shampoo more frequently, then you need to kind of like take that advice with a grain of salt because it doesn't really make sense for you. The next thing I like to consider when taking advice, or I guess considering advice from social media, is who is the advice coming from? I don't think it's ever a good idea to just take advice because someone's giving you advice. They need to have some sort of authority on the matter in question. And even still, even when I am taking advice from someone who's super popular, like we kind of know off the top of our head who are the super popular people on YouTube, but even still, I mean, you would probably want to take their advice over some regular person that you don't know, but even still you have to consider, like, why am I taking this person's advice? What credentials do they have? What proof of their work do they have? Things like that. Just consider who is the advice coming from. And the last thing I like to do is to confirm what someone just told me with a plain old Google search. Regardless of what anyone says, in today's day and age, when it comes to locks, no one is reinventing the wheel. No one. Regardless of what they want you to believe, they are not innovating in any way. So pretty much, that said another way, the information that they're giving you is probably information that's probably already been around. And if it's good information, it should be information that you should be able to confirm with a Google search. And that's not just typing it into Google, reading the first article that gives you a hit, and then that's it. I mean, taking some real time to actually research and confirm the information that people give you. One of the things that I like to think about, and this is not something that's like super big deal where, you know, it would make my locks fall out if I did it, but I know earlier on a lot of people were making videos about using rose water in your hair. And so I really and yet while everyone was saying use rose water, no one was explaining why you should use rose water and why rose water was better than just plain water. So I took it upon myself to do some research, and I even went as far as researching my city's water report to see what kind of water I'm getting through the tap. I did some research comparing tap water versus distilled water. I took time to really understand what is rose water composed of, what's the process used to create rose water, and ultimately my research confirmed for me that while there's nothing wrong with using rose water, it's not necessarily better than good quality distilled or purified water. But I only arrived at that conclusion because I took the time to research. That's something that you really ought to do, taking any advice, big or small. I mean, we could make that argument about using rose water, choosing to interlock, choosing to freeform, just any advice that you're taking. If you're not sure about something, take the time to research it. They should be able to echo the information. You should never be hearing something for the first time, because like I said, if it's good information, it'll come up multiple times. This is a pretty short video, but I hope that it clears up how to sift the information that's available to us on YouTube. I think that YouTube is great for the same reason that in some cases it's bad. There's tons of information available, so it makes information easily accessible, but at the same time there's no control on the quality of information that gets posted to YouTube. So it really is, the onus is really on you to do your research and make sure that the information that you are consuming and potentially, adding to your everyday life is good information. And I hope that this video kind of helps steer you in the right direction on how to go about doing that. But anyway, thank you for tuning in, and as always, I'll see you guys next week.